Hi folks, so you know I'm all about breaking down barriers of the entry into our hobby and making things easier, especially for beginners, or potentially making things a little bit faster if you're maybe not kind of at the pro level, or that's not where you're intending to get to from a painting point of view. So one of the things that stopped me in the past of getting into specifically kind of larger army scale games and also historical wargaming has been basically the painting side of things. How fast can I get all of this painted? And also the feeling that I might be painting stuff the wrong colour. I think when it comes to historical games, there's a little bit more attention kind of drawn to that. So what Army Painter have done alongside Warlord Games is they've got this product, and I'm going to show you it now. So this is the Warlord Games Rapid Deployment Fast Paint System. This one particularly is for the US Army paint set, and it comes with 5 different colours, an anti-shine matte varnish and a strong tone quick shade. Now what's also useful about this is that on the back of the box it actually takes you through all of the different bits of equipment. So bazooka green should be used on helmets, bazooka entrenching tool handles, US Gators brown should be used on the jackets and the gaiters, etc. And that kind of tells you what you should be painting in the right areas. So if you're not feeling sort of particularly confident, or you're new to this, this is a really quick way to get things done. Now inside the box you will find that you get this. So again, we've got the anti-shine matte varnish, the US Army webbing, US Army green, British battle dress, bazooka green, US Gators brown, and a small tub of the Army Painter strong tone. Now they also do this kind of core paint set too, which has the basically like the core colours in, if you like. So we've got pitch black, pure white, danger red, royal blue, submarine yellow, wood brown, Caucasian skin, dark gunmetal, and again another anti-shine matte varnish and a strong tone quick shade. So I'll be showing you these, how to paint the US Army set from the Bolt Action Banda Brothers starter set. Now obviously these are probably not going to win any awards, I would say, but it's designed as a product to get things done very quickly, ease beginners in, or people who just are not as interested in the painting side of things. Now obviously contrast paints have been marketed along this kind of route as well, with giving you shades and highlights. But what I found with contrast paints are they tend to be a lot brighter colours and not necessarily suited to maybe a World War II setting or a historical setting. But also you still need to be pretty neat with your brush. You still need to make sure you're getting the paint in the right places. And if you're not as neat and you maybe go over under a few bits, it's not as easy to cover them with other contrast paints. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you step by step. It's not really a how to paint video, although you can use it for that. And I'll show you how to take it from a primed miniature all the way through to how they look after using this full method. And then you can comment down in the video and let me know if you think it's good enough to get them on the table and if you'd find this product useful. Now, through the joys of technology, I did record me painting this and then something glitched with the camera. So unfortunately, yeah, you'll have to have me talking you through it. Now I'm going to start with Caucasian Skin, which is in the core paint range set. And for here, obviously, I am going to, I've put some onto my wet palette, thinned it down with water as you normally would. And then I've painted it to the hands there and to the face. And I'm not the neatest of painters. I'm not the best painter in the world. But what this system will do is it is very, very forgiving. So if you're trying to do things from a speed perspective, or you're trying to do things as a new painter, this will be quite forgiving. So, seeing as how that one glitched up a little bit, let's move to the next stage. So next up now, we're going to be taking a British battle dress, and we'll be using this to paint the trousers on the miniature. So again, just put a little bit on a palette, thin it down with water to get the right consistency, and then just paint into the trousers. Again, as I mentioned before, it doesn't need to be perfect, as you can always tidy it up a little bit, which is one of the downsides really of contrast paints. You have to go back in with the kind of the contrast primer, if you like, and then reapply that to the bits you've missed there, to the bits you've gone over rather, and then come back in with the contrast paints. So whilst it is still a very good system, and it's it's still a great way for beginners to get started painting, it's maybe sometimes not as fast as was maybe originally kind of used. I'm enjoying contrast paints, but what I find is I think I'm using them in a very slightly more more technical way, I think, I suppose, almost as a technical paint as opposed to a super fast painting system. This one is very much more get things done quickly, and even more so with this rapid deployment set, get things done quickly using exactly the right colours. So just paint up those trousers and then we'll move on to the next stage. So next up, we're going to take US Gators Brown, and this we're going to use, as the book suggests, on the jacket and on the gaiters. So again, thin down the paint with a little water, and we are going to paint the jacket and we're going to paint the gaiters. And again, basically it's just get a good covering of this. Try not to sort of try and keep it neat, but it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. You can always tidy things up later before we do the wash, and you can always hide quite a multitude of sins if you're trying to speed things up by covering it over with the wash itself. So again, the gaiters are just a bit around the boots here, and then obviously paint all of the jacket too. And then once you've done all of that, we'll come on and we'll do the next stage. So next we're going to take the US Army Green, and we're going to use this to paint the backpack and the webbing around it. Now, as you can see with the last colour there, with the US Gator Brown, I haven't been perfectly neat with it. We can tidy up a lot of that as we go around the model now, but all we want to do really now is just to get a good nice coat onto the webbing and onto the backpack as well. Now what you might notice is, and you might be considering thinking that those colours don't look particularly right at the moment, is I think they've been designed basically with the fact that they become desaturated once you put the dark tone wash over the top of it. So don't panic too much about the colours at the moment. Make sure that you watch it all the way through to see what the final effect is, and then you can judge for yourself whether this is something that you think you could use to speed up painting these models, or if you think that actually it's not quite the finish that you're looking for and you want to try and take a bit more time and do a more traditional job of them. Next up, we're going to take Bazooka Green, and we're going to use this to paint at the helmet, any bazookas obviously, and any entrenching tool handles that we might have on the model. So again, just nice and neat. We'll just get this colour on, make sure that you get a nice coverage of this. Next up, we're going to be using Wood Brown, and we're going to use this for rifle and the SMG stocks. We're going to use it for boots and the helmet strap. Now again, just make sure you put this on nice and neat. It does not have to be perfect, but we just want to cover over the parts as needed. Next stage, we're going to be using dark gunmetal, and this we're going to use to paint the weapon. Now also at this stage, I forgot to paint the strap on the rifle, so I've gone back and I've used the Wood Brown, and I'm using that as a leather colour to paint a leather strap. Next up, we are going to coat the whole model in strong tone. Now the instructions do say to dip the model, however I prefer to brush it on. Now this is how the strong tone looks. It's almost like a little pot of some kind of sort of creosote varnish type thing, and essentially what we're going to do is we are going to, actually let me put it on the camera so you can see me at least using it. We are basically using an old brush because this absolutely wrecks brushes. You really need to clean your brush out with some kind of sort of thinners or spirits after this. But just dip your brush in, and then we're just going to wash over the whole model. You will do this bit and say, oh my God, what have I done? But please just stick with it. It does dry a lot lighter. It seems to even out. So basically all you're trying to do is to coat the whole model. Make sure you don't miss any bits. Make sure you get into the recesses. Make sure you don't get bits sort of pooling and running too thickly, but do not worry too much about it. Don't try and thin it down. Don't try and worry about it. Just get it covered on, and then let it dry. Now you are supposed to let this dry for 24 hours, so that's what I'm going to do. And it will go really, really shiny once it's done. Even though it it kind of calms down a little bit and it's not quite as dark, it will be really, really shiny, and that's why you use the matte varnish that you get included in the set as well. But we'll pop all this on, we'll leave it 24 hours, and then we'll come back and do the next stage. Once you've completely dried with the quick shade, we're now going to come over and coat the whole model in anti-shine matte varnish. So as you can see here, this is a different model, but I wanted to keep going with the video in so I can show you it, with the filming rather. So you can see how it is very shiny, but it's run down into the recesses, left some kind of sort of highlights, but however, it is way too shiny to use. So we're going to use that matte varnish now. You can obviously use a spray can if you have it, but in these kit, you get the matte varnish with it. So all I want to do is we're going to now, again, very liberally, so this is why it's very, very beginner friendly. We're just going to coat the whole model in the anti-shine matte varnish. Obviously this is pretty good as well for protecting your miniature. This army shade stuff, the quick shade is actually a bit of a varnish itself, and it makes the model very hard wearing, and then this will just obviously give it an extra coat as well. So it's not bad practice to be in really, to varnish your models anyway, to give them a little bit of more durability on the tabletop. But just as I mentioned there, just go over, coat the whole model, make sure you don't leave any bits untouched, or you will just end up with the shiny parts left through. You can always go back afterwards if you've missed anything once it's dried, but just go through the whole model, coat it in the anti-shine matte varnish, and then leave it to dry. So once the matte varnish is dry, this is what you are left with. Now again, it's not winning any awards and it doesn't look much here, but when you see it on a tabletop as a whole army, actually I think you might change your mind a little bit. Now what I do like to do with this, I always find that this tends to darken down the skin that little bit too much. So I like to go back and get some more of the Caucasian skin tone, and we're going to come in and we're just going to kind of pick out some of the details. So for example, just on the tops of the fingers here, we're just going to lighten some of that up. On the back of the hand there. And we'll just pick out the bridge of the nose. Maybe on the chin here as well, a little bit on the cheeks. Just lightening the face up a little bit just tends to help, I find. And we're not talking about doing anything too kind of technical here, anything too high level. As long as you've got a point on your brush, you can just basically just tidy that up a little bit. So we'll just around his fingers here. And that just kind of brings the face out a little bit against that darker background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to base these. I'm essentially going to paint a bit of just a brown base on them, maybe a little bit of dry brush over the gravel, and then a little bit of sand, a little bit of grass flock. But I'll show you how the whole army looks when they're all together, just to show you that basically a really quick, simple job. Might not look much as one single model, but when you're putting an army together, it actually can look quite impressive and it gets it on the table quite quickly. So here you can see the completed side of the US Army from the Band of Brothers box set. And I think to get them painted and get them on a table in a super quick time, they look pretty good. Yes, they're not winning any awards, but once they start to rank up, I mean, you're talking sort of 40, 60 different miniatures on a tabletop. You have to cut some corners to get those kind of numbers up in any kind of decent time. And I think this is a really quick way and a confident way for beginners to tabletop gaming, and especially to miniature painting, to get them on the table in a super fast time. So let me know in the comments what you think. I'll also show you the German side that I did here as well, using the German paint set. And you can let me know, is it something you're interested in? Would you never touch this stuff with a barge pole? Or if you're just getting started, does this give you any confidence to just pick up the brush for the first time? I'd love to know. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.